Hello, everybody. My name is Corey Rosen, and you're listening to the Story Podcast. Today, we have on a super awesome guest, Mr. Tim Kwiat.
Hi, Corey.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Tim Kwiat is one of the members of Super Genius, which is a long-time collaboration and celebration of friendship between an underground songwriter-musician and former members of Lancaster, PA's Innocence Mission, featuring original music and a melodic exploration of multiple rock genres. The members of the rock band Super Genius have known each other since their days at Lancaster Catholic High and have played together on and off ever since. Following high school, Steve Brown and Mike Bitts signed to major record label A&M as members of the Innocence Mission and toured the country under the guidance of music legend Pete Asher, playing and associating with the likes of Don Henley, Emmylou Harris, and Natalie Merchant. Tim Kwiat finished his education at Villanova University and went on to play the mainline and Philadelphia club circuits with his locally celebrated band, 1,000 Years. In 1995, the three of you, Tim Kwiat, Steve Brown, and Mike Bitts, recorded an album of original music called Painting in the Rain that reunited them as a team and continues to this day, adding Philadelphia musician Tim Halloran from 1,000 Years to the lineup in 2015. He performed and recorded with the band until his untimely passing in 2020, leaving the original three members to continue the journey in his honor. You guys have had a rich tapestry of artistic achievements, including 5 albums and multiple video releases.
Yeah.
And you just released your most current record not too long ago.
Yeah, we just released Noah's Farm. It's been kind of an interesting journey. It took about a year or maybe even longer of our life to record and put together, but we spent a lot of time living it up to that point. Basically, 2 of us in the band reached the venerable age of 60 this year, so it's kind of a bucket list project, but we kind of look back and it's an inventory of our lives and what we wanted to do musically and artistically. And I'm a songwriter. I've been writing. I just write constantly. I've got half the next record written already. And I grab from my back catalog too and do what I can there. But yeah, this was a very interesting record because, I mean, you know what the world's like today. Everybody's shouting about what's so unfair or what's wrong with everything. Well, we decided that we were going to take a look at all the little things in life that make life just awesome. So there's a song in there about, weddings. There's a song about growing a family, raising a family. There's songs about my mom bringing the family back together. Songs about, for my wife, even her obsession with shoes. We've got a shopping song for her called Shoes, Glorious Shoes. Stories about my kids, tributes to everything. And Noah's Farm is actually the title. And the way that came about is when my middle boy, who just got married last year, when he was about 3 years old, he had this Fisher-Price plastic farm that he just used to play with. But, you got your sheep, you got your cows, you got your goats, but he also had like aliens and plastic army men and spacemen and stuff. So I looked at it just for hours, he'd play and I'd say, boy, what a creative mind. I can only imagine what's going through his head. And when we decided to kind of do this perspective where the 2 of us that are turning 60 and even Mike, who's 59, looking back on our lives, we thought Noah's Farm's just a great thing, remembering that little moment of that 3-year-old playing with these plastic animals and space creatures. And it was kind of cool because at the time I'd written a song that commemorated that, but it didn't have any words. Just just kind of singing the melody. And my brother said, I really like that song. And I figured, well, we'll revisit that. And I had to kind of put myself back in my 27-year-old body when he was a kid and go back and imagine what he was thinking at the time. And that's kind of wrote it from that perspective. So it was a really cool way to revisit all these wonderful moments that made up the tapestry of our life and brought us to where we are now. So it's a great experience, and it's by far our best work. And again, with Steve and Mike, Steve was the best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his. Our wives were in each other's wedding parties. Mike and I grew up playing piano duets at Lancaster Catholic before class, and he'd come to visit me at Villanova, and I'd go see them wherever they were. It was really a special project to have these guys, my best friends, kind of back in here doing this, reliving life with me the way we did, and lot yet to come.
Well, speaking of reliving life, let's relive a little bit. Where did you first fall in love with music?
Wow. I would have to say it's always been within me, but formally, I grew up out on Long Island as a kid in Glen Cove as a young kid, and my aunt had a place in Sag Harbor, and we used to go out there, and she would put us up in the loft, and we'd stay up there. And there was my mom and her sisters all had their record collections up there in a little record. So I'd spend my afternoon and I'd put on the Beatles, and right away the Beatles. I mean, this is stuff that's before my time, but they just spoke to me, and they spoke a language that was more than just a conversation of us
Right.
speaking, but it was something that it was a passion. It was the blend of voices. It was the emotion. It was the words. It was everything about what they were presenting. And right then and there, I knew, something spoke to me, and I said, I really want to communicate that to others and express myself in that same way as a songwriter rather than just recreating music. So, as a kid, and then all through high school, when a lot of my friends were out running around, I was in my room playing guitar obsessively, learning Steve, and Steve was in my first band with me, the drummer Steve Brown, and Mike Bitts, we played on and off as well. And, I always found that girls seemed to pay a little more attention to you when you wrote songs about them. It was a cool thing that way. But yeah, it's just that passion that speaks to you. It's something that, you can't stop if you tried. But it was always there. It's just a matter of over the years, it's gotten better and better and better. And here we are at 60 years old writing songs about like how we got to Corey's podcast.
So tell me about the process. What made you lean towards guitar?
That's an interesting question. I play a little bit of piano. I play drums. I play bass. I do the organ parts and stuff. But they're just things that I've picked up from the people that I play with. But guitar was just seemed to be the natural thing. Everybody that I listened to growing up, whether it was the Beatles or the Everly Brothers or the Beach Boys, I'm a big classic rock fan. And guitar always seemed to be like, the big thing. Not a super great soloist. Always surrounded myself with really good people. But, as far as rhythms and things, I did a lot of folk. I can do the finger picking and things. So I just gravitated toward that. I was originally left-handed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My
Are you left-handed, like, outside of us? Or?
I write left-handed,
Okay.
and I eat left-handed, but I throw a baseball and bat right-handed.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and the only reason I play guitar right-handed is because my mom got a guitar for us and said, I'm not stringing it upside down. You got to learn, this way. So maybe I'd be a better guitar player if I was left-handed, But yeah, so it was just a fun thing. It was something that drew me. I'm not a very technical player. I have my chord patterns and structures that I like. I've embellished them over the years. I've learned a lot of different things from some of the great players that I've played with. And it's just something that, my own ignorance on guitar is what makes the journey cool, because I'll discover something and then I'll write something completely unique.
Right.
So it's a fun thing. It's now all the other instruments that I learned, piano. Mike taught me a lot on the piano, but a lot of it is I just went to one of the music stores and bought a chord pattern. Now you can look it up online, and I used to sit at the piano and just teach myself. Same thing, bass. If you can play guitar, you can pretty much play bass, Drums was a little harder. Steve was very patient with me. But once I got the coordination down, I can hold my own. That's about it. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And I've done a lot of solo records over the years where it was interesting because our path has been, we played together all through high school, but when they left high school, they got signed to A&M Records as part of the Innocence Mission, and they went off on tour. And I finished my education at Villanova, and I had a band called 1,000 Years, and we played the whole Philadelphia and mainline music scene, and that was a big thing. We had a great following. It was a cool experience. Those were the time. That was the signature time in your life that you always remember. We were fearless. We'd get up. Didn't matter if we knew something or not. We could just get up and play, and that was a great thing. And I worked in Philadelphia, and I had an opportunity to come back home to Lancaster, to Greenfield. And there's a place called American Helix at the time that was a compact disc manufacturer. I'm like, oh, this is great. This is like my dream. I came back to Lancaster, and 2 years later, they closed the place up and moved everybody to Massachusetts. So here I am in Lancaster, but I lost my band. You know, they were in Philadelphia. So Steve and Mike were home from a tour, and I asked them, I said, I've got these songs. I got to do this solo record. Would you guys play with me and, you know, back me up? And they said yes. And they got Jay Sorrentino from Suddenly Tammy, who at the time was signed to Warner Brothers. He had a church studio right here in Columbia. And so he signed on to produce it. And we started the rehearsals, and all that vibe from when we were in high school and everything else just came back, you know, flooding back, and it was great. So we said, no, this has got to be a band. We can't do this as a solo thing.
Right.
So we were all Warner Brothers cartoons fans, and, you know, Wile E. Coyote, super genius. That episode said, this is great. Let's use that name. Now there are 3 or 4 other super geniuses, but I think we're the first. So I got the patent on it. Mm-hmm. No, but it was a great project, and we did really well. We did the WJL's 12:30 live show, and we did, you know, Countdown Lancaster, and we played the Chameleon, and we played the, you know, all the clubs in Lancaster, the Blue Star, and the places that were popular at the time. And then they went back on tour for a while, and we separated a little bit. I did a lot where I was recording solo albums and playing all of the instruments myself and doing all the vocals, because I'm big on harmonies and things. And then at this point, when Painting in the Rain hit 20-year anniversary, Steve called up and said, you know, let's do a reunion show. Let's just do a tribute show to that. And that's why when you see our Bandcamp page is Super Genius 20, it's because that's kind of when we kicked back up again, is after that 20-year anniversary on that album. Since then, we put out 4. But it was very interesting because after that, and we decided to keep going, as a songwriter and a guy who was stuck in a studio for 10 years doing all the instruments himself, I had to kind of relinquish some of that and let go and say, no, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You guys do it yourself. Yeah, and that was hard. Tough at first, you know. But they're great players. And
they're great musicians to let your ego to.
Yeah, absolutely. And they play the parts better than I would have. And,
right.
You know, and the nice thing is now the songs that I write, they become ours rather than mine. And they bring so much to it. And then, of course, once we put it out into the world, it becomes yours and everybody else. You know, I may have written it about something, but however you interpret it is really up to you. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. 29 songs, 2 discs. It was a labor of love.
That's a double album.
Yes, there are 2 discs in there.
That's crazy.
And there's a 16-page booklet. We have all the lyrics printed out, and you can get it through the Bandcamp page. But we had the very first guy, Glenn Carty, a phenomenal guy he lives in Havertown, Pennsylvania, but he heads up the music department, actually the audio department at Widener University. And back when I was with 1,000 Years, his first production and recording record and our first full record was together. He did that for us. And we kind of came full circle, and he actually mixed and mastered this entire record. And it just sounds amazing. He did such a great job. We gave him 2 months to do 29 songs, so, you know,
wow, yeah,
I'm getting the phone calls at 1 a.m.
Right.
You know? Yeah, it was a really cool experience, and he was a good guy.
So from your times in your youth to now, what do you think is the biggest improvement in your songwriting?
You know what? I think it's just easier now. I have more confidence in my writing. If I used to always tell even my wife, I'm like, you know, if you want to know about my life, just listen to my songs.
Right.
Because everything that I write to me is very spiritual. It's either about an experience I've had, or it's about something I was feeling at the time. Maybe code, could be something totally ominous, but it's me. And it's always been an expression. The one thing Steve always says, he says, we're not songwriters, we're channelers. And I really do feel in a lot of ways that songs are given to us, you know, that you get a feeling and you just pull it out and somehow it comes through us. But it seems to be easier now. And I don't know if it's just because we've got experience or we've lived longer. But that seems to be, the biggest change in what we've done since we were younger till now. It just seems to be more natural and easier and come to us.
So, along those kind of lines, what is something you haven't written about yet that you would like to in the future?
That I haven't written about?
Or like a topic that you would like to go over?
That's a good question, because if you listen to the record, you'll find that those 29 songs cover everything from folk to rock to there's a song called Down by the Sea that's a tinge of reggae and psychedelic in the same song. I've done things from hard rock to heavier stuff, psychedelic, kind of covered all the boundaries. I think what I really like harmony a lot, so I'd like to write something a little more ethereal that is kind of a meditation kind of thing that you can get lost in. It's something, I've touched on them all because I've been writing for 40 years,
right.
45 years, whatever it's been. And I've got literally probably 1,000, 2,000 songs, which is what makes it so hard because, I've written 4 new songs for the next record, but I'm also going back over the old catalog and saying, I've got to do something with this, got to do something with that. So it's, it's wherever it takes me will be what it is. I kind of don't think of it from the perspective of I haven't done this, let me try it. It's sort of whatever speaks to me. And what we did a record called Breakfast Under the Trees, and that came at a very interesting time. We were going to do what became Raining Colors, but Steve was having a lot of health issues and couldn't stay behind the drums for too long. And I had a week off for Christmas, and I wanted to keep him on track with things. And I just said, well, something just made me sit down, and in the course of one night, from about 6 o'clock in the afternoon until about 2 in the morning, I wrote the entire album. So it's about 14 songs. They kept coming to me one after the other, and it was something like God telling me that you need to do this. And I was thinking the whole time that, that this is for Steve. He kind of can't,
right.
So what I wrote was very acoustic oriented, and I figured, well, I had him come in and do bongos and ice bell and, tambourine and shakers. We did a bowl of water. We did rain sticks. It was very cool. And he approaches it so interesting because the song Breakfast Under the Trees is all wood blocks and wood instruments to give you that, have it come to life. But what I found is I recorded it very quickly the next day and had Steve do his percussion, and I had Tim come in at the time and play bass. Mike did the keyboards, and Steve's daughter Olivia did wonderful vocal harmonies and everything. And literally 2 days after Tim put down his last bass track, he was gone. Very unexpected. And I realized that it wasn't for Steve that I was called to do this and that this was given to me, but it was because of Tim, that we had to get one last record with him. We had to get that memorial to him. And pretty much everything we do now moving forward is, kind of in his honor. He's very much still a part of our band, even though he's not here physically. The spirit that guy had was amazing. But we've also gone back to the original core, which was me, Steve, and Mike before Tim came on. So this record was a great celebration of our reunion as the three and kind of looking back fondly on all that we've done. And the songs were just given to us. That's all I can tell you.
Let's take a listen to some of those songs. We have Uncle Pete's Tavern. Tell me about that.
Well, Uncle Pete's Tractor is actually an amazing song, an interesting song, because when my son Tanner, who's now 22, when he was about 4, I used to keep my tractor down the street at my brother's house. He lived 3 doors down. And whenever I'd go to cut the lawn, he'd say, can I go with you? We'd go down, I'd put him on my lap, and we'd drive around. And I remember driving around with him and him just being, driving that thing with a big smile on his face and just remembering that, hey, one day he's going to grow up and leave and I should memorialize this. And he used to always say, are we going to go get Uncle Pete's tractor? We're going to get Uncle Pete's tractor. And, to this day, every now and again, I still hear that little voice saying, are we going to go get Uncle Pete's tractor? So decided to memorialize that in song, and it's kind of a catchy thing, and it says everything I wanted to say.
Well, let's take a listen to Uncle Pete's Tractor by Super Genius.
Super.
And that was Uncle Pete's Tractor.
Uncle Pete's Tractor.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool song.
It is a really cool song. It's really reminiscent of the old rock and roll, like you said.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah, the stuff that I do is very predictable. It's very immediate, very melodic. I have a couple songs that are kind of out there and that, are a little challenging, and those are the ones we don't do live. But this kind of thing is kind of cool because it's very familiar.
Right,
you hear it and you can sing along with it after the second time you've heard it. And as people have told me that it earworms them, a lot of my music, that in a good way, they say, but it kind of stays with them. And I like that. Yeah.
So you had a 20-year gap.
Yeah, between Painting in the Rain and kind of coming back together, I wouldn't say it was a 20-year gap because it was a 20-year gap between recording records.
Sure.
But Painting in the Rain was recorded, and then we actually performed a lot and did a lot of things. And in that time, we also raised families. We were very young when we started, and we had young families. Steve's got 2 daughters and a son. Mike's got 2 sons. I've got 3 boys. We always stayed musically active. Steve Brown owned the Lily's on Main in Ephrata, if you remember the old restaurant. He owned the Ephrata Main Theater.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, which is cool because that's where the 20th anniversary show took place.
Nice.
And so that was a great thing. He owned that, and he put in a lot of time with that. And Mike continued to play and give lessons, and Mike plays with everybody. He plays with Solar Federation, and he's kind of cool. But I got him first, and we have history. I was working and supporting a family. What I was doing in the meanwhile was continuing to write and record. And as I said, all my records that I put out I did the Lithium Doesn't Work and Mystic Ocean and, Pictures in the Attic. There were a bunch of different albums that I did, and I did all the instruments and all the vocals on it because pretty much I didn't have a lot of folks that could give the same amount of time and have flexibility that I have to do those kind of things.
Right.
Steve, and I'll mention it only because he's very open with it, but Steve battled alcoholism for a long time, and I think that he kind of had that epiphany when the 20th anniversary of that album came up, and I think he was looking for something more. And the one thing that I can say, and I was telling you about how I was called to write Breakfast Under the Trees in one night, I always felt that my music was bigger than me, and that while I do it for me, and I'm always going to do it for me,
right,
I always feel that I do it for other people. And I don't mean to go out to the world and have people love the music.
Right,
and so, that's a great byproduct if that happens. But very specific things, Tim, our bass player who had passed away, had some very unhappy circumstances. And he would walk into my house just dragging himself for rehearsal with the bass. And, hi, Tim. Hi, Karen. How are you? And he'd go down to the basement, and we'd play for 2 hours, and he would literally float out of the house. Just the music just did so much for him. So I felt I needed to keep that going for him. And with Steve, battling his alcoholism, basically the music is what saved him. And he basically said, I've got to stay busy. I've got to stay focused. And he's been several years clean and focused. He went through so much, but the music kept him, giving him something to work for, something that spoke to him, some kind of meaning and purpose. And it kept him occupied, So basically those where I said I had to kind of relinquish and give up my arrangements and my ideas, I basically went to those guys and said, well, what are your ideas? How do you hear this? What do you think of it? So, Noah's Farm is probably the most collaborative thing that Steve and I have done to date. I write all the songs, I bring them to him, and the two of us figure it out together. And if it doesn't work in the arrangement we're doing, we start it fresh the next day, and we come up till it does, and it speaks to both of us.
And so, you come back together in 2015, and 5 years later, pandemic hits.
Yeah.
What happens?
Wow. We record Painting in the Rain. No, actually it was Raining Colors. I'm sorry. That was an interesting time because we had just finished breakfast under the trees, and then we had that very sad event of Tim's passing, because he passed in February, and I think it was probably April or June or whatever, whenever it hit.
It was March.
March, yeah.
March 13th. I remember it very vividly. We were supposed to leave for Ireland that day.
Ah,
and
so
then got canceled.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
So and Tim passed on February 10th, I think. So it was only a month.
Right.
And so we were still in that recovery phase, and we brought, the pandemic was so new, we didn't know what to expect.
Right.
Now I work for Phoenix Packaging in Mount Joy, awesome box company, and I sell boxes for a living. If you need boxes, hit me up. But
yeah, cardboard boxes?
Yeah, cardboard boxes. Yeah, we make them right in Mount Joy. It's awesome family-owned company with a few independents left. And I've been there forever, and they are wonderful people to work for, and they were very supportive during the pandemic because they were deemed one of the essential businesses, because everybody was shipping stuff. So you needed boxes. Yeah. So I found myself out on the road, still going to visit customers, masking up, doing that whole thing. But as you know, everybody was going stir crazy. Yeah. And for me, I didn't want to get all to the point where I was wallowing in the pandemic and complaining about everything and doing what everybody else was doing. Was I scared? Yeah, everybody was. But sure. I kept focused. I had my day job to keep me grounded, but it was a very creative time for me because I knew it was going to get better eventually.
Yeah, always has to.
And I thought, wow, this is a great time to spend the time reflecting, and thinking about the things that I'm passionate about. Spent a lot of time with my guitar, a lot of time with the piano, and wrote a ton of great songs. And it was still fresh with Tim's passing, so focusing on that record that he was supposed to do with us, and then adding a few more songs, and one that was called Laugh With Me, about his incredible infectious laugh, was a tribute to him. But he was the kind of guy, he was a big Who fan, loved the Who. So, it was, you couldn't write a mushy, sappy song about him. It was done in the style of 1,000 Years, our old rock band. And, and it was all the kind of thing where you throw your fist up in the air and you drive real fast, and that was Tim, but it was a very meaningful song. So I think the pandemic kind of got us into that reflective mode and into that kind of thing where, we know it's not going to last forever. We want to come out of this screaming and, more productive.
Well, so after pandemic, you come around Nose Farm. We have some songs from Nose Farm that we would like to play. How about Growing Flowers?
Growing Flowers is, that's basically about starting a family. All the songs on the album, again, are about specific points in life and the little things that make things wonderful in life. And this was kind of a metaphor for planting a garden and sharing it with the people you love. It's basically about starting a family and sharing that with the world.
Let's take a listen to Growing Flowers.
Growing joy and truth, planted with deep roots, share it with the people that I love. Is kind, better when it's shared with someone else. It's blind, still it has to be. joy and truth, planted with deep roots. Share it with the people that I love. Is kind, better when it's shared with someone else. It's blind, still it has to be. Shared with someone else. It's blind, still it has to be. I think I will grow some flowers, plant them everywhere, let them fill the air, share them with the people that I love. Share them with the people that I love. Share them with the people that I love.
And that was Growing Flowers. Sorry if you heard that start 2 or 3 times. Trying to do something over here. It wasn't really working out. But hey, doing it live, right?
Yeah, it's all good.
So, given your 40 or so years of experience playing music, singing, songwriting, what would you have to say to someone that is starting today?
Basically, I'd say just make sure you do it for yourself and just stick at it, because I was not very good when I started.
No one's ever very good when they start.
But I think if you've got a dream, you pursue it, but just make sure to keep your dreams in focus. When you're a kid, you always think, oh, I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do, and now I'm just doing it because it's what my spirit calls me to do. And the reason that I put out the records is, no matter what, I'm always going to do it. Whether nobody listens, nobody cares, it's something that stays within you. But the reason that I put out the records now is to see if there's an audience. If I get feedback, as long as there's an audience, I'll continue to put them out. And then when that stops, I'll just do it on my own.
Right.
But, we've had great feedback, and, we put in our dues over the years. As I said, when we were kids, it was kind of cool because we were fearless. We didn't let our own insecurities hold us back. If there was a club somewhere, we'd basically try and find a way to get in there, whether we had a full set or not, and, just keep at it. Follow your spirit, follow what calls you, follow your passion, and don't give up.
What is something that you are still working on? Like, what is one technique or area that you're still trying to work on to improve yourself as a musician?
Practice. I think as I get older, and hopefully, eventually when I retire and have more time, I want to spend more time getting more technical about things. I don't let that hang me up now, because everything I do is from in here, and I'm just doing it as an expression. But I don't think of myself so much as a musician, so much as a songwriter and an artist. I get really nervous before I go on stage.
Really?
Oddly enough, if I do an open mic, I'm like this, just kind of waiting to go on. But if we're playing for 2 hours, like we just did that release, when it was time to go on, no problem, just played. So I want to work on that a little bit too, the confidence. But I'd like to become more of a performer, so that it's not just the music that you hear, but that it's also
what you see.
It's what you see. It's the experience of everything. I'd like to, again, going back to those early Beatle records and the language of music and what's communicated. I want to kind of take that to the next step, so that it's not just what you're hearing, but the whole thing becomes an experience. The album cover that we did for that, my son Noah actually did the artwork for. And it's pretty cool, because we just took pictures from us playing in the studio, and he came up with this little vibe around it. And it's got the colors, and it's got sort of these paint strokes, and everything that we did associated with it gives you that very artistic but happy feeling. And that's sort of something that we wanted to communicate more than just the music, but we wanted it to transpose into the visual end of things as well.
And that can be found only on Bandcamp, right?
Yeah, you can. Well, as far as the album goes, yeah, supergenius20 at .com or .bandcamp.com is where you can get the album, the physical album. But it's on Spotify and it's on Apple Music.
Okay.
It's anywhere that you listen to music. It's pretty much, you can download it or you can listen to stream it.
Well, there you go. We've got one more song from you. All I Have Is You.
All I Have Is You. So that's kind of the wedding song. That one I've sung at a couple different weddings. It's basically just a love song. It's the appreciation for that one person that you find, and that person becomes your soulmate, and you finally realize that, it doesn't matter, what more could you ever want if all you have is that one person, and that's what it's about.
Let's take a listen.
There are some things that I want, with some things I'll make do, but what more could I ever want? What more could I ever want? What more could I ever want if all I have is you? Sometimes I may look for more, when more or less might do, but I know I'll have everything. I know I'll have everything. Yes, I know I'll have everything if all I have is you. We are here to gather spirit. We are here to make our way. Can't start living for tomorrow if we can't get through today. We are here to speak in silence. We are here for what's inside. Can't we all just be together? Must we always run and hide? Sometimes I may look for more, when more or less might do. Still I know I'll have everything. Well, I know I'll have everything. Yes, I know I'll have everything if all I have is you.
And that was All I Have Is You. So, we've been talking a lot about spirituality this entire episode and what we're called to do and stuff like that. And being a Christian, one of the things I like to ask all people of faith is, what is worship to you? Where do you find yourself most in tune with God?
So basically, I have a very deep relationship with God, but it's very personal. I actually grew up Catholic, so I say a full rosary every day as I travel in the car, and that they're kind of it's almost like a meditation type thing in that you're saying kind of canned words or whatever, but I always make sure that that I speak to God personally as I would speak to you or any other friend, and let him know how grateful and joyful and thankful I am for all the gifts that he's given me, for the family that I have, for the talents and those types of things. And in situations, I actually prayed on the way over here that this would go well, and asked him and his spirit to be with us as we do this, and to speak through us in any way that he felt he wanted to use me or us. but it's a very personal thing, and I find that when I was younger, it was a lot about ritual. It was a lot about going to church and doing what
Doing
you
the mass.
exactly doing the structured stuff. Now it's more about living it. I think I got that foundation, and I tap into that well. And God is just very present in my life every day, every moment, and in every decision I make, even the bad ones.
Yeah, right. 100%. How do you think your faith has influenced your music?
Oh wow, it's 100%, because all of my songs are very spiritual, and it's funny because I have some people that kind of get that have come back and said, I always get this spiritual quality to your songs, but they're all expressions, and especially with this new album, Noah's Farm, being about family and about all the gifts that we've been given. The very last song on there is called Every Breath is a Blessing. It's a very meditative song. It's a very hypnotic song. It's probably the coolest song on the album. We discovered Nate Sheffer, who played. Do you know Nate?
I know Nate. Yeah.
So
I know of him. I don't know him personally.
He is awesome. He did flute on one of the songs, and he did sax on a bunch of songs. And we brought him in, discovered him about 3/4 the way through the record. He loved the music so much and bought into the whole thing, that not only does he want to be on the next project from the beginning, which we will have him, but he actually played keyboard, sax, and flute at the release show.
Nice.
And he's just a super guy. But yeah, I mean, it was such a spiritual song, and having him come in and do those parts just brought something to it. But yeah, I mean, everything, every breath is a blessing. All I have is you. Growing Flowers, about the family. This Life is Wonderful is about bringing the family home together. There's so many songs on there. My Joy is about my 3 sons, but they're all the gifts that I've been given from God, and they've come through in my music, and they've come through very spiritually. And I'm very interesting because I'm Christian and my wife is Jewish, and we've been married for 33 years. And we've got, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things that maybe I was very tunnel visioned into, and I think I've opened her eyes to a lot of things too. And we're total opposites on everything. Everything from, religion to politics to how we spend our money to how, everything. I like things clean and organized. She loves a messy room with things hanging out of the drawers. Brings her comfort.
That must be fun.
You know what?
33 years.
It is, because she's my best friend. We don't fight. We get along. We learn from each other. We tolerate each other.
Right.
We nurture each other. But it's been very unique because I think I've been exposed to a lot. It's opened my mind, and I've been exposed to a lot of things that I may have been very sheltered about in past, growing up. And we've had a great marriage, and I do believe, despite the differences in our faith, that God brought us together, and that He brought us together for a reason. And I feel that very wholeheartedly, very strongly.
So moving on. Once again, people can. This is out everywhere on all streaming platforms.
Yep, you can get it anywhere.
And you can buy a physical copy at Bandcamp.
Yep.
Super Genius 20.
Supergenius20.bandcamp.com.
And some of the last questions I like to ask all my guests: what are some mistakes that maybe you have made, or you've seen other people make in this industry? How can we curb that for the future generations?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I've made a ton of mistakes, and what I would say is, first of all, any mistake that you do make sure that you learn from it. Make sure that you, if you find the 99 ways to fail before that 100th time is the success, just remember that you learned 99 ways not to do something.
Right.
And what did you learn from those 99 ways? But I would say that complacence is a mistake that I've made, where I've felt, all right, well, I got to a certain point where things were going well. We had a great record. We had a great show, whatever. You rest on your laurels for a little bit, and then you get that passion again, and you go back up and do it. I think trying to reach out to people and let people know that you're still here and that you're still interested, anymore it's not just about the music, it's not just about the writing, but it's how you engage with people and bringing them into that music fold. So this year I've been a little bit obnoxious, folks, in how I promote things, but I've sent tons. I say working the farm because it's Noah's farm, but that's what I've done is I've sent emails and texts, and I've posted and done different campaigns. And I think in the first, it's been out for about 3 weeks now, and we've gotten well over 500 spins on Bandcamp alone. Not to mention all the people saying, "Oh, we're listening on Apple Music, and Spotify is a big one," and I can't even track that. But I'm very blessed to see that a lot of those listens are actually complete listens.
Nice.
And it's pretty cool. We had an amazing amount of support at the release party. As I said, there were probably at least 100 people there. And they were people that we knew, as well as people in the musical community that were very supportive. Nice, I was telling you about Albie Van Schaaf has this open mic that he does on Thursday nights at the Marietta Tavern, and he's trying to bring in a greater caliber of musician, but he welcomes everybody. But it was kind of cool because you go there and you support that, but at the same time he showed up, right. to support us, and it's making this nice music community in the Lancaster area. And things with what you're doing are just amazing too, that you're reaching out, you're bringing people in, you're making people aware, you're kind of, doing a different role in this and making people aware, but it's all part of this community. So I think, my advice and the mistakes that I made in the past were just to, I'm a writer and a recorder. So as soon as I would do a record, I would kind of focus on the next project without seeing this one through. And this time I'm seeing it through, and it's actually really paying back, and we're going to live this one a little while.
2 more questions. What is one of the funniest or worst things that's ever happened to you on stage?
Oh, my God. Well, I mean, we've seen it all. I could say with 1,000 Years, we were playing we used to play in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. And there was another place where I remember fights breaking out, and where we were literally on stage playing, and the bartender dragging people out to the backstage door through the stage while we're playing, drunk people or whatever. But there was one in particular. I'll just tell the story quick. It was a girl, and she just had way too much to drink. And next thing you knew, while we were up there, she was up there singing with the band, and she had her arm around me, and she's singing in the mic, and it was a cover. She knew it. And then when she was done, she got off the stage and went and sat at the bar. And at some point, her and the bartender must have had words. And next thing I know, she's on the floor, and the bartender's trying to drag her out by her feet. And the girl starts kicking, and she breaks free and spins around. And as she spins around, the bartender, who's also a woman, grabs her by the hair and literally drags her out to the alley. And it was our last song of the set, and everybody in the whole place just emptied out and went out into the alley to see what was going on. And we actually put the guitars down and went back out, too. So yeah, that was probably the funniest. You have the gremlins where the horrible things, everybody has a bad night where your mic doesn't work, or you hit the wrong chords, you just can't be on track, or lyrics are wrong. Being a songwriter, I just make them up as I go. If I forget them, it's just the way it goes.
Or now it's a solo.
So it's all good, But those are the fun times. They make for great memories, but at the time, it's a little harrowing.
Yeah. Well, one more time, where can people find you at?
People can find us on our Facebook page, which is the Super Genius Facebook page. You can also
at Super Genius 20.
I believe it's at Super Genius 20, and also the Bandcamp 20, Super Genius 20 at bandcamp.com. And then I have Tim Kwiat Facebook page as well, and I post everything.
KWIAT.
KWIAT. Yeah, it's phonetically correct. Polish word for flower.
Oh, is it? That's cute.
It is. If
That's
they Americanized it, I'd be Timothy Flower.
There you go.
So, yeah. Thanks, Grandpa.
Right. Well, my name is Corey Rosen, and this has been a Story Podcast. Please be sure to check out Noah's Farm on all streaming platforms, and if you want a physical copy, Bandcamp, Super Genius 20. And if you have enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share it with everybody else. And you can go to CoreyRosenProductions.com. That's CORYROSEN Productions.com to find out everything else that I'm doing, including the new music I'm releasing. The movie, I didn't tell you this, but longtime listeners will know that I've got a movie coming out in theaters.
Wow.
That I've written the music for. And the best news is we've had it sold in like Germany and South Korea, but we just got a North American distributor to distribute it across the U.S.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so stay tuned for more news about that, about where you can find it and what theaters it'll be playing in. So I'm really super stoked for it. And with all that said, I hope I see you guys next time. And you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.